Whenever I post a wall mopping video on my channel, I always have two camps of people that like to comment. The one side is like, well, of course, duh, why would you not mop your walls? And the other side is completely confused and appalled as to why I would use something designed for my floors on my walls, and I get so many questions. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a deep dive on wall mopping 101. I'm going to go over why you should be mopping your walls if you're not. I'm also going to be going over the best tools and cleaners for this, and then I'm going to share my tips, tricks, and techniques. And lastly, wait to the end, I'm going to be telling you what you should never ever do when mopping your walls. The number one reason you should be mopping your walls is because your walls are no different than any surface in your home that you clean on a regular basis. Just like I would take time to vacuum my couch, to mop my floors, to dust my entire home, I'm going to take the time to also wet mop my walls so I can get rid of debris, fingerprints, dust, dirt, grime, and most importantly, smell. Your walls will hold smell for so long, and you can use any amount of fabric freshener, deodorizer, anything you can imagine. If your walls are holding on to fried food, fish, smoke, that's going to linger in your homes until you get rid of it. Also, using a mop is such a fast and efficient way to cover so much more area than you would spot cleaning. Think about it. If you have kids, pets that are leaving smudges on your walls, it's so much easier to just grab one big tool and go over the surface one time and get the whole area clean versus having to spray to clean one tiny spot at a time and you're not even able to reach the top. I had quite a few people recommend to me that I could simply just repaint if my walls were dirty or smelly or were an issue, but paint is so expensive, and can you imagine having to repaint anytime there's dirt or grime or smell? That will cost you literally thousands of dollars, and it's so not practical when you can literally take a mop your walls. The other concern I had is that this is going to damage your walls, your paint, or your sheetrock underneath, and that could not be further from the truth if you do it correctly. I just want to clarify that we are not drenching walls with water and leaving them wet. We are using a very, very lightly damp mop, to which technique I'm going to show you coming up. Okay, to answer the question of which tools and cleaners should you use, I personally for years have been using the O-Cedar bucket spin mop system. You want to use a system that is going to wring out your mop head really well. However, after many, many years of using the O-Cedar bucket mop system, which I did love and I do recommend, just recently, I switched over to the O-Cedar flat bucket mop system, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The main reason being that I think a flat mop head is able to reach into corners and areas where maybe a fluffy mop head like this isn't able to. I love the fact that this is a lot less bulky than the O-Cedar bucket mop. If you're interested in comparing the two systems, I have several videos on my channel talking about the bucket mop system, and I also have a video talking about the flat mop system. You do not need to have these exact mops to wash your walls, but you do need something with an extendable pole so you can reach up high, and you do need something that's going to wring out water really well, because the key and trick is that this mop head does not need to be soaking wet. Now, when it comes to the type of cleaners that I use in my water solution, I used to use things like detergents. However, I have learned from a lot of my viewers that's actually not the best thing to do because it does leave a residue on your walls. So instead, I've been opting to use an all-purpose cleaner like Mr. Clean. I just personally love the scent of this. It does a really great job degreasing too. So if you have any grease stains, or if your home smells like smoke, maybe fried food, this does a really, really great job of deodorizing and getting rid of that smell. Or if you're on a budget and you don't want to buy another mop system, you can use a broomstick and a wet microfiber cloth. It's a little more finicky to get it working, but it does the trick. If you are working with flat paint, you can still go ahead and get your walls clean, but you do need to start with a dry mop first, and you want to dry dust your walls first. So the paint in my house is flat, and I do this all the time without an issue. The only thing that you need to keep in mind is to start with a dry cloth so that you're getting off most of the dust and debris before you go in with a damp cloth. So I start off with just dry dusting from the top to the bottom, and I'm literally just going back and forth motions. I'm not applying too much force. Now, when you're done with the dry dusting, you wanna make sure that the cloth you're going to use wet is super gentle, especially if you're using it on flat paint. So now I'm going to take my water right here with the solution already in it. I'm going to take my mop head and I'm literally just going to make it slightly damp. Okay, I want you to see that there is nothing dripping from this mop head, the tiniest bit wet. That's it. Don't soak your mop head because that will ruin your walls if you make it too wet. Okay, so once your mop head is damp, go back over where you dry dusted Or if you have a satin or semi-gloss finish, you don't need to dry dust first at all. You can just go ahead in with a wet mop head. But in my case, I'm going to go back in where I pre-dusted, and I'm just lightly, don't need to apply too much pressure. I'm going to go back and forth and just give it a good wipe down. Another quick efficiency tip I want to give you when it comes to walls is if you have stains or stubborn stuck on things, you want to use this Zep Wall Foaming Cleaner. You can either spray it directly on your mop head, or if you can reach the wall, spray it directly on the stain or the spot that you want to remove, and then go over it with your mop head. Absolute perfection, gets rid of it every single time. Now, a couple things you never ever want to do when mopping your walls. You do not want to use a mop head that is oversaturated with water. If when mopping you feel like you need a little bit moisture in your mop head and you do need to use a little bit more water and solution to get the job done, go in afterwards with a dry mop head to make sure that you're not leaving in any extra moisture on your walls, so that over time it's not going to damage your walls or paint. The second thing you never ever want to do is to use a mop head that may be old, dirty, or smelly. Make sure it is either brand new, freshly bleached, or just overall smells great, because if you use a stinky mop head or dirty one to mop your walls, instead of having a nice deodorized fresh effect, it's gonna smell like dirty mildew or dirty bucket water. Please be sure that you're using a really good clean mop head when you're doing this. And the last tip that I want to tell you of what not to do is something that I had to learn the hard way. I thought that adding in a little bit of fabric softener or laundry detergent into my solution would make it smell so good and fresh, like fresh laundry. However, I didn't know that if I added those detergents and the fabric softener in there, it's actually going to attract more dirt, because your walls tend to be a little more sticky, and so they literally will grip onto dust and dirt. So make sure the solution that you're using is just a gentle surface cleaner. Well, I hope this answers your burning questions about wall mopping. And if you found this video at all useful, would you give it a thumbs up? And if you're interested in more homemaking content that makes homemaking easy and efficient, be sure that you're subscribed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in my next one.